Max Fisher's The Chaos Machine delves into how social media has fundamentally reshaped our minds and our world. For countless individuals, the day begins with an immediate dive into the digital realm. As soon as we wake up, we instinctively reach for our phones, scrolling through notifications, Facebook feeds, Twitter timelines, and Instagram posts. We crave the dopamine rush of likes and comments, and social media platforms are expertly engineered to deliver it. If this resonates with you, The Chaos Machine is a must-read. Even if you've successfully broken free from the addiction, there's valuable insight to be gained. Journalist Max Fisher sheds light on the darker side of social media. These apps aren't merely innocent distractions, they're powerful tools meticulously crafted to keep us engaged. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter exploit our psychological vulnerabilities, leading to dire real-world consequences, including the spread of pandemic misinformation and political upheaval. These platforms are reshaping our brains and our world. As Fisher argues, it's time to reevaluate our relationship with social media. After reading The Chaos Machine, you might even be tempted to delete your accounts altogether. If you've ever felt addicted to social media, compulsively checking notifications or endlessly scrolling, you're not alone. These platforms are designed to hook us, exploiting our psychological weaknesses. It's not your fault. Your brain has been hijacked, which was the intended outcome. Sean Parker, Facebook's first president, admitted that social media apps were intentionally designed to be as addictive as possible. By providing users with small doses of dopamine through likes and comments, these platforms manipulate our attention and consume our time. The addictive nature of these apps stems from the inconsistent psychological rewards they offer. This technique, known as intermittent variable reinforcement, is similar to how slot machines work in casinos. The uncertainty of whether a post will receive likes or comments keeps users constantly engaged, posting, scrolling, and seeking the next dopamine hit. Many people are unaware of their social media addiction, which is often subtle. However, once caught in the social validation feedback loop, described by Sean Parker, individuals constantly seek approval from others. Social media exploits our innate desire for social validation and self-expression. It allows us to project our identities and affiliations, whether it's through a football-related post or a political statement. This deep-rooted need for social identity affirmation is why we display flags, wear college merchandise, or put stickers on our cars. During his research, Max Fisher interviewed high-ranking officials at companies like Facebook and was alarmed by their dismissive responses. Many of these individuals brushed aside criticism and evaded responsibility for the negative impact social media has on users. It was reminiscent of cigarette company executives who claimed ignorance of the health risks associated with their products. Such a response is, at the very least, absurd. Websites like BuzzFeed cater to our desire for social validation by offering lists that appeal to specific groups, such as 31 things only people from a small town will understand. While these lists might seem harmless, they can contribute to divisions and foster an us versus them mentality, sometimes leading to serious real-world consequences. Many of us are aware of social media's addictive nature and its negative impact. However, what often goes unnoticed is the deliberate design of these apps to exploit our psychological weaknesses. Outrage and punishment. We might like to think that we avoid arguments on the whole, and that we aren't naturally angry people. Yet, when it comes to social media, many of us find it hard to resist. Just take a look at Facebook, all those heated debates and outraged comments. Moral outrage is a powerful, deeply rooted instinct that drives much of our online behavior. Consider our ancestors, whose social groups were limited to around 150 people. How did these groups maintain order and ensure everyone followed the rules? The answer lies in moral outrage. When someone violated social norms, others would express their anger publicly, ensuring the transgressor was punished. Social media amplifies our instinctive behavior of moral outrage. Posts expressing outrage go viral as our evolutionary instincts compel us to publicly shame and punish wrongdoers. A notable example occurred in 2020 when a black man in New York's Central Park asked a white woman to leash her dog. When she refused, he pulled out his phone to record the incident. In response, the woman falsely accused him of threatening behavior, calling 911. In a climate of heightened awareness about police violence against black people, the video went viral, reaching 40 million views. Outrage reached a fever pitch as people contacted the dog owner's employers, pressuring them to fire her. The social media collective's response was clearly excessive, even prompting the birdwatcher to question the severity of the punishment. Under public pressure, the woman temporarily returned her dog to the shelter, demonstrating the power of social media to inflict consequences. "I'm not excusing the racism," he said, "but I question whether her life needed to be completely destroyed." Our evolutionary instincts drive us to seek satisfaction from punishing perceived wrongdoers, especially when there's a large audience. This explains why moral outrage and shaming can spiral out of control on platforms like Facebook and Twitter, with more and more people joining in. Social media has an unprecedented and disturbing power to both connect and divide us. Hate speech and misinformation, prevalent on most platforms, further fuel the fire. Outrage and punishment. We might like to think that we avoid arguments on the whole, and that we aren't naturally angry people. Yet, when it comes to social media, many of us find it hard to resist. Just take a look at Facebook, all those heated debates and outraged comments. Moral outrage is a powerful, deeply rooted instinct that drives much of our online behavior. Consider our ancestors, whose social groups were limited to around 150 people. How did these groups maintain order and ensure everyone followed the rules? The answer lies in moral outrage. When someone violated social norms, others would express their anger publicly, ensuring the transgressor was punished. Social media amplifies our instinctive behavior of moral outrage. Posts expressing outrage go viral as our evolutionary instincts compel us to publicly shame and punish wrongdoers. A notable example occurred in 2020 when a black man in New York's Central Park asked a white woman to leash her dog. When she refused, he pulled out his phone to record the incident. In response, the woman falsely accused him of threatening behavior, calling 911. In a climate of heightened awareness about police violence against black people, the video went viral, reaching 40 million views. Outrage reached a fever pitch as people contacted the dog owner's employers, pressuring them to fire her. The social media collective's response was clearly excessive, even prompting the birdwatcher to question the severity of the punishment. Under public pressure, the woman temporarily returned her dog to the shelter, demonstrating the power of social media to inflict consequences. "I'm not excusing the racism," he said, "but I question whether her life needed to be completely destroyed." Our evolutionary instincts drive us to seek satisfaction from punishing perceived wrongdoers, especially when there's a large audience. This explains why moral outrage and shaming can spiral out of control on platforms like Facebook and Twitter, with more and more people joining in. Social media has an unprecedented and disturbing power to both connect and divide us. Hate speech and misinformation, prevalent on most platforms, further fuel the fire. To cite a few examples, during the COVID-19 pandemic, social media platforms were rife with anti-vaccine posts. Additionally, the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones's YouTube channel and extremist Facebook posts in Myanmar have been linked to real-world harm, including genocide. The combination of vitriol and misinformation, amplified by algorithms, poses a significant danger. Until recently, social media companies made little effort to combat this issue. In June 2020, hundreds of Facebook employees staged a walkout, protesting the company's inaction when Donald Trump wrote a post inciting violence, targeting people who were protesting against racial injustice. Facebook had failed to take down the post. But in August, under pressure, Facebook and Twitter finally took action. Trump had published a video falsely claiming that children were almost immune to COVID, and this time, the post was removed. Social media platforms also began to introduce other measures, like fact-checking boxes and crackdowns on accounts that shared QAnon conspiracies. But it was a case of too little, too late, especially for QAnon. By late 2020, many social media users had fallen far down the rabbit hole. They believed that the government was corrupt, that election fraud was widespread, and that Trump, not Biden, should be in power. In mid-December 2020, a month and a half after Biden won the election, Trump posted on Twitter, "Big protest in D.C. on January 6. Be there. We'll be wild." And we all know what happened next. The Capitol siege. Egged on by Trump and the social media frenzy, thousands descended on Washington, D.C. and forced their way into the Capitol building in an attempt to overturn the results of the election. In the chaos that followed, many were injured, and some people even died. Ashley Babbitt, a QAnon supporter with an active Twitter account, broke into a room in the Capitol, where she was shot and killed by a police officer. Babbitt was wearing a Trump flag as a cape, and a lot of the commentary on January 6 has focused on Trumpism. While that's certainly one aspect of it, we shouldn't lose sight of what the movement really was, something created by social media. The January 6 Capitol insurrection was fueled by misinformation spread on social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Individuals who were exposed to this false information became enraged and felt compelled to take action. In response, some social media companies banned former President Trump from their platforms. However, this ban and the subsequent actions taken were merely temporary solutions to a larger problem. Time to turn off the machine. After the Capitol siege, there were calls for change, from politicians, people in the tech industry, and employees of social media companies. Enough was enough. For a while, there was a lot of discussion about how companies could change. A potential solution to the problems associated with social media platforms is the introduction of subscription-based models. This would reduce the company's reliance on ad revenue, which often incentivizes engagement at all costs. However, the social media giants have shown little interest in implementing such changes. They view it as unnecessary and do not consider themselves responsible for the harm their platforms can cause. Despite this, they have been aware of these issues for years. While Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg publicly deny responsibility and downplay concerns about Facebook's impact, internal documents leaked by a former employee, Frances Haugen, reveal a different story. In 2021, Haugen shared confidential information with the Wall Street Journal, exposing Facebook's deliberate disregard for user safety and its willingness to compromise democratic principles in pursuit of profit. The leaked documents revealed a disturbing reality. Facebook was aware of the dangers on its platform, including the spread of vaccine misinformation and hate speech, but chose to take no action. Haugen, who later spoke publicly about her experiences, explained that Facebook had the ability to make the platform safer by modifying its algorithm but intentionally avoided doing so. This was because reducing user time spent on Facebook would lead to fewer ad clicks and lower revenue for the company. Haugen suggests that one way to improve social media platforms would be to disable their algorithms, which can manipulate user attention. However, convincing Facebook to take such a drastic step is unlikely. Additionally, this is not the only problematic aspect of the platform. Many experts interviewed by Fisher for the Chaos Machine agree that social media would be more beneficial if it were less integrated and intrusive. While turning off or significantly reducing the capabilities of social media platforms might result in a less engaging internet experience, it could also lead to a world with less hate and misinformation. This trade-off is worth considering. As Fisher conducted more research, he was reminded of the computer HAL in the film 2001, A Space Odyssey. While HAL is not inherently evil, its malfunction and subsequent attempt to kill the spaceship's crew demonstrate the dangers of relying too heavily on artificial intelligence. It is necessary to deactivate HAL, even if it means losing a remarkable computer. Humans must regain control, no matter how challenging it may be. There is a valuable lesson to be learned from this situation. In Max Fisher's Blink to the Chaos Machine, you will discover that social media addiction is not your fault. Social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter are intentionally designed to be addictive, much like a slot machine in a casino. Our innate desire for social validation and expression compels us to engage more with these platforms, but this can also foster division. Additionally, these platforms deliberately push us beyond our social capacity limits, contributing to increased aggression and radicalization. Anti-vaccine posts and conspiracy theories spread rapidly on social media, often leading users down dangerous rabbit holes. The Capitol siege on January 6, 2021, was a stark example of the platform's power. Fueled by misinformation and calls for protest, a mob stormed the Capitol, resulting in absolute chaos. Frustratingly, social media companies have been slow and reluctant to make any significant changes. Internal documents shared by a Facebook whistleblower indicate that these platforms prioritize profit over user safety. Some experts suggest we need to rethink our relationship with social media, possibly even getting rid of it altogether, in order to reduce harm and misinformation. It's a challenging idea, but one that could lead to a safer, less chaotic world. Okay, that's it for this Blink. We hope you enjoyed it. Please take the time to leave us a comment and a like. We always appreciate your feedback. See you in the next Blink.